Hello and welcome to the Mama Means Business podcast. I'm your host, Siobhan Bent, and we are back for another dynamic episode with an amazing mama, Miss Ellie Ricketts. Hello, hello. How are you?
I am doing well. Thank you so much for having me. How are you?
I am well, thank you. Thank you for accepting my invitation. Coming from one fellow podcaster to another, I really appreciate you taking the time to join me on this new venture and truly appreciate you. I love to get started. Let's jump right in because I know time is valuable. Tell the people, who is Miss Ricketts?
Well, I am just an individual from the great city of Toronto, born and raised. I love the city of Toronto, so I'm a Toronto lover. 416 Love. That's the reason why I named my company that.
Mm-hmm.
I'm a mom. I'm a mom and I love nature. And I'm just here trying to follow in some ordered steps. So I'm learning along the way, and I truly don't even know who I really am yet. I'm still trying to get to know, all the things about myself.
It's a continuous process. I feel in many of my coaches, like if you believe that you've arrived, you literally are not growing. And so as women, as moms, we grow with our children, I find. Like my son gets a new mom every single year because I've never had a 9-year-old. I had never had a 10-year-old. And so he pushes me, he stretches me, he pulls me. So you would never know exactly who you are, but I know that you are a loving mom. I know that you are a community advocate. You're so patient, you're so kind. I love your energy about you. And so thank you again for being here. We actually met through social media. You reached out to me you reached out to me and asked me to be a speaker at one of your events, and I was like, "Me? Are you sure?" Like, we don't know each other. So I love that you're very community driven, and so that's an amazing thing. So you said 416 Love. Tell me a little bit about 416 Love. What do you do there?
So 416 Love was just birthed from actually just deciding that I wanted to do something different.
Mm,
And I've always been like since I was in high school, I have always had a passion for law. So I
hmm
was in the law clerk program. I worked at various law firms, and then I started my own business as a process server. So I was doing that for many years.
mm.
I took the program at Seneca College, so I ended up going back to Seneca and teaching in the course.
Oh, cool.
And I was doing, yeah, it was really good. I was doing all that, and then I just realized that I just don't feel like I'm doing what like I'm supposed to be doing. You know what I mean? Like, so after I had my son, I decided that I was just gonna quit my job and quit everything
hmm
and be a stay-at-home mom, focus on my children, and try to figure out what I'm supposed to do with my life.
hmm
And then yeah, so I went through a whole bunch of stuff. I started trying to dig deep into, things about myself that I wanted to change, things that I didn't like about myself. So I
mm.
was doing a lot of soul searching and trying to build my relationship with the Lord.
Yes.
And and that's how I ended up writing a book.
You're an
And I
author?
wrote my blog. I am an author, yes.
Girl, you keeping secrets. I
I
didn't know
am
that.
an
Okay.
author. I am an author. So, yes, I wrote this book called Figure It Out. I have to give you a copy. So, you just let me know when you're ready. I will definitely get you a copy
Okay.
of the book. But yeah, so I wrote this blog because that's something that I used to love to do. I was like, what do I actually like to do besides,
hmm
being the law thing? Like, what did I love? And I love to read and write. And
hmm
so I decided I was going to write a blog. And so I wrote this blog and I sent it out to like everybody on my WhatsApp.
Mm-hmm.
So then people were like, oh, I like this. Oh, what is this? Like, what are you doing with this? Like, some people
Right.
just read it and didn't respond, but it was all good. I just said, I'm like, I'm going to send it out.
Right.
And one lady got back to me, a friend of mine, and she was like, what are you doing with this? And I'm like, I have no idea. Like, I just felt like writing. I wrote all these poems and all these different things. And she was just like, well, I know this guy who has a radio station. You should just ask him if, you could be on his radio, and have your own show. And I'm just like I'm like, okay, like I don't think that that makes any sense, but all right, because I
Uh-huh.
could never see myself speaking ever. Like I've always been very quiet,
Mm-hmm.
not somebody to be like talking or anything like that.
Mm-hmm. I can
So,
relate.
he, right? And so he said no. And he said yes. He was like, yeah, no problem. So I went down to Unity FM and I was on that radio station. I had my Monday night show called What's the 411, where I played R&B. And when I first started out, I was so scared. I was like, I don't even know like what I'm doing. Like I have no clue. I've never done this before. And at the same time, I was praying to the Lord because I started, just really digging deep and trying to get into my faith with the Father. And so
Mm-hmm.
I was like, you know what, God, you need to help me. Like I'm trusting you with this. Like
Yes.
I don't know where I'm going, what I'm doing. Like I need help. Same time, my dad called me. He's like, "Oh my gosh, Ellie, you wouldn't believe who I seen." And I'm like, "Who?" And he's like, "Oh, we have this old family friend. My dad is an artist, and her mom used to be an artist as well.
Okay.
And growing up in the community, they used to bring us to the community center, and we'd have to do like Afrocentric dances and
Mm.
participate in shows and all sorts of stuff. And so it was her daughter. So it was like an old
Okay.
family friend. My dad hadn't seen her in so long, and so he's like, you need to connect with her because I was telling her what you're doing. And she's like, oh my God, she's into the same stuff. And I'm like, you see how the Father works?
He,
And so
fine.
she came, I'm like, sorry, did you have a
No,
question?
like yes, that's what he does. He's the
Yeah.
master planner. Let's go. Mm-hmm.
And they're like, just like, it was crazy. So I basically, I talked to her that day because he went back to the store where he's seen her working. And he's like, Ellie's on the phone right now. You need to talk to her. And so I was talking to her and I'm like, she was asking me what I'm doing. And then same time she's looking at my Instagram. She's like, yes, yes, yes. And I'm like, listen, I have this. She's like, I do a radio show. And I'm like, okay, you need to come down and help me. Like, meanwhile, like, mind you, I haven't seen this girl in like 20 years or something. You know what
Right.
I mean? So she came down to the radio station and she literally helped me, just feel more comfortable
Yeah.
just being on the radio. And then she's like, why don't you interview people? She's the one who gave me the idea to interview. So big up
Mm.
Vernie, on
Okay,
that. And
Bernie.
she and you know, and I was like, interview people like how, like what am I gonna ask them? And then so she's like, I'm gonna get you a couple people to interview. So she got me the first couple of people to interview.
Mm-hmm.
And was after that it was just like questions rolling off my tongue, like it was like questions just pop into my mind, and it was
Mm-hmm.
just so easy, like it was just like okay, this is
Yeah.
right. And then after a while she was like, I don't need to be here anymore, Ellie, you're good, I'm gone, like you're on your own now, like
Peace out.
I'm done. Like she's like, yeah, like, so that's really where I started. And then I I registered the business, and then I just took it from there. And I've never really had my own, I can't say that I've had my own ideas. Like some ideas, yes, I've had, but a lot of things people have helped me with. Like they would just
Mm-hmm.
suggest something, like even a seat at our table was a
Mm-hmm.
suggestion. Like you should really do a summit. And I'm like, a summit, like first of all, I've never even heard of a summit. What is a summit? I like, I didn't know
Right.
anything about it. And then after I asked the father about it, in like about a half an hour, 45 minutes, I had the first a seat at our table planned out,
Come
and
on.
it's just been there. Yeah, like it's just faith, man. I'm telling you, like the Lord is the greatest. If you
That's
don't
it.
have him, you,
Come
you
on.
don't have nothing.
Come on. Come on.
And like he will do it for you. He will do it for you
Right.
if you just trust him, you
That's
know?
it.
So yeah.
Love that. We have so many commonalities actually. You said you were in law. I went to school. I always have this. well, my mom calls me Sergeant Bent, okay? Because I like things a certain way. And sometimes I will say it in a way that people may not really like it, but I'm very firm. And
Mhm.
I never wanted to be a police officer, but I wanted to be in some form of authority type of position, right? Ideally, it was like I wanted to be an immigration officer, customs officer to have the control of whether you can come in my country or not. Like that's what it was. Um, and then, you said how you just started this blog, something like, you just, well, writing, I've heard, I'm not really much of I'm an author too, but I'm not a writer per se. It's so cathartic, right? It gets like it releases all those things that are going in your head. And so when you started your blog, like that was the first step. Sometimes God puts things in us that we don't know how to actually move forward. But once you make that one step, he provides other resources, right? So you put all those um pieces into position. Had you not started that blog, would you be here
I
today?
don't know. Not at all. Or I don't know. Like, who knows, right? But I definitely would not be where I am right now and as happy as I am doing what I'm doing.
Love
I
that.
can say that for sure.
Love that. So you mentioned you had a son. How
Mhm.
many children do you have?
I have three beautiful children, my three
Yay.
blessings,
Mm-hmm.
two daughters, yes, Isabel, Ruby, and Isaiah.
Okay. And is he the youngest or the oldest?
He is the youngest. He's the baby.
Okay, he's a baby. So do any of your children um display any of your gifts or your business mindset?
He does for sure.
He does?
He loves Pokemon. Oh my gosh, he loves Pokemon and he loves candy. So he's always talking about selling his Pokemon cards. He's
Okay.
always trying to go online and he's trying to hustle everything he has. Like, mom, why are you throwing this away? We can sell this.
No
Mom,
way.
like, always trying to be an entrepreneur. So I have a very entrepreneurial mindset as well, and
Mm-hmm.
I encourage my children to do stuff. So in the summers, we always have our little lemonade stand. We're
Nice.
always going around selling, baked goods and stuff.
Right.
And when he came back, actually, this year was our first year back at school since COVID. So they haven't been in school for 2 years.
Mm-hmm.
And so when he came home at the beginning of the year, he brought this picture home because you make a little collage or whatever. And so he made a collage and he has a basketball player because he loves basketball.
Okay.
So he has a basketball player because he's like, I want to be, a basketball player. But then he had a briefcase in the picture as well because he's like, I'm going to be a basketball player and a businessman, mom.
Come
And I'm
on
like,
now.
all right,
Come on
you
now.
know, yeah.
Train up a child
He
as
always
they should go, okay? I love it.
yeah.
And I love that he's the youngest one that is the business minded. That means he's gonna take care of his family, okay? I love it. I love it. All right. So in your journey, what would you say has been your biggest obstacle or even your biggest challenge in facilitating the role of business owner as well as being the best mom you can be?
I would say myself, you
Mm-hmm.
know, I would say myself 100% in every single aspect of everything.
Mm,
Just the other day, I was, just I had to be told by somebody, just straighten up this or do that, because this is where you're slipping here, or this is not a
mm,
good look, or whatever. You have to check yourself sometimes.
yes,
And sometimes you get on your roll and you're doing your thing and you're just it's like autopilot. You're just going,
exactly.
going, going. But at times it's good to have straight people around you, people that love you to the
Definitely.
core,
Yep.
but that love you enough to tell you the truth about when you're moving a little sloppy sideways or you need to just pull your socks up and do your thing properly. So I would say myself in business, like I said, I'm so scared. Like that fear, God did not give us a spirit of fear,
That's
right?
right.
So
Hmm.
what are we being fearful when he's told us to do something? That means he's got our back. He's going to help us.
And he'll
So for me,
provide
that,
for you. Yep.
oh my gosh, like
People,
he will do
resources.
more
Yep.
than provide.
Yep.
Like,
Mm-hmm.
and he said, like, the birds and this and that, everybody's taking care of out there. So why isn't he going to take care of us? Like we're mothers, right? We
That's
know,
it.
we look at our children, we cannot see them not being taken care of and feel, nah, he's the
Facts.
same way. And he's the Almighty Father. He's like, we cannot have fear.
That's it.
So for that is definitely something that I continue to battle with, is
Mm-hmm.
just being confident and walking in my ordered steps,
Yes.
even when, like, it seems like the path is super rocky, like, I still have to
Keep
go.
going. Keep
And then
going.
motherhood is hard.
Yeah.
Like you said, every year you're learning something new. Every day where there's a different challenge, as the children grow, you grow, but there's different obstacles with motherhood. And it's
Definitely.
sometimes it's hard. It's
Yes.
hard, man. No
It
one's
really is.
ever anybody who says parenthood is easy, I don't know. I don't
Uh-uh.
know, but it's real.
Uh-uh. Uh-uh. And if I don't know what I want to know the course they took or the book they read that made it easy for them because I ain't see it
It,
yet.
I don't even think any course, any book, any nothing, because these three children that I have, each one of their head runs different. So
Wow.
one will be doing this.
Yes.
You can't predict your child, even though you know them
Mm-hmm.
and you know what they're kind of capable of. They'll surprise you,
For
and
sure.
you don't know everything. You don't know everything.
For
So
sure.
it's a lot of work. So I would say myself, man, I'm still working on myself
And as I
every
said earlier,
day.
we absolutely should be. We should be continually working on ourselves, especially when you've identified where where you struggle, right? So you mentioned earlier, you have somebody that's in your corner that can say, "Hey, hey, Ellie, like let's get this together," right? I believe that community is um community is one of my legacy pillars. Like I do believe that we can't do it by ourselves and nor should we try to. So really having somebody that's close that can critique us, encourage us, celebrate with us, hold us accountable is key in us being able to maintain ourselves, maintain our role as mother. If you're working, if you're running a business, like who signed up for this? Like, I just want to know. I don't
Oh God.
recall signing any waivers. Like who signed up for this? Goodness me. So as moms, we have, as I said, we wear so many hats. What do you do to take care of you?
That is something that I am like is I have to sometimes it gets to the point where it gets too long that I'm taking that time out to take care of myself. But what I do like to do is take a bath,
Mm-hmm.
you know, and actually just sit in the bath for a long time until I am so wrinkled, that it's just ridiculous.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and then I just like to sometimes just lay down in my bed and listen to music,
Yes.
read a book, vibe out, go out sometimes. It really
Mm-hmm.
just depends. However, like whatever I feel like, to take care of myself. Sometimes that's going shopping.
Yes.
Sometimes that's leaving the kids at home and going to Dairy Queen and eating my ice cream in the parking lot and then coming home and not telling
Come
them
on
about
now.
it.
Come on now. I've had quite a few of those.
Whatever.
Maybe too many, but I have had quite a few of those.
You gotta do what you gotta do. Like,
Do what you got to
so
do.
it's yeah. It all depends on what's going on.
Good. But as long as you do it, because this is where the Sergeant Bent comes in, right? Any mama that I know is like, I don't listen, mama. Okay. That has to be a part of your weekly schedule. And it doesn't have to be as driving anywhere. It doesn't have to be, like when they say self-care and self-love, the society shows you like massages and spas. And I mean, you can do that if you want to. But to feed yourself, to fuel yourself, it doesn't necessarily take that, I believe. For me too. It wasn't until the pandemic that I recognized that I wasn't doing for me. And of course, I think the intensity of homeschooling and all of that stuff like kind of like amplified that. And I was just like, I packed up my son's bags and I was like, okay, Dad,
That's
see
it.
you next week. And up until
Jump
that
out.
point, I had never done that before. I was like, no, no, no. And so we kept that going because I need at least a day and night where I can just veg if I need to.
Yeah, it's a deserving thing. It's not even
Yeah.
just a need, like you actually deserve it, you
Yeah.
know?
Yeah. Yeah. Beautiful. Beautiful. Well, I'm glad to hear that you do it because I would have been on you. I would have been on you. So what's next for 416 Inc. or the 411? Tell me about your podcast. Yeah, tell me a little bit more about your podcast.
So yeah, so the podcast is called What's the 411? And just like how I met you, just sliding in your DM, that's me. Like I will just be up in everybody's DM, like, hey, like what's going on? You know, I have this show. Um, but I really just somehow just connect with people. Like I just look at their feed to see what's
Mhm.
going on with them and just be like, you know what, this person looks interesting. They look like they have a story to tell.
Yes.
Because what's the 411 is basically showcasing the person behind the brand.
Okay.
Because your brand is a brand,
Yes.
right? But behind that brand, there's a person that, or a community of people that put that brand together. You
Mm-hmm.
know, what did you go through? What happened? How did you
Right.
get here? Like, you know, so I like to hear people's stories. I like to hear that because of what I went through, you know,
Yeah.
how I birthed this thing. I'm like, that means everybody's got a story, you
Everybody's
know?
got a story for
And
sure.
everybody's got a story and everybody's story matters. It's inspiring and motivating to people. You never know who's listening to that story or
That is true.
how many times people have no idea. Like even just this last podcast that I did, I was just before I went online telling my kids like, oh, you know what, I'm not even sure. I don't even know how much longer I'm going to be doing this. I get I feel defeated so many times. Like I'm not doing this anymore. Like I'm done. After my schedule is done, like I'm not booking no more people. Do the podcast and something somebody says during the podcast will be like, what? Or like this time I got a phone call right after and they're like, oh my gosh, Ellie, no, no, you need to keep doing this. You
Come
need, and I
on.
was just like,
Won't he do it?
okay.
Won't he do it? Uh-huh.
And I'm
Uh-huh.
just like, he will like tell you like, you know, sometimes we get discouraged, you know, like it's
Absolutely.
just human nature, you know, to feel like that sometimes. But it's always good because if you're doing the right thing, then the Lord will send those people around you, the
Well, definitely.
community to encourage you. Yeah.
Oh, I love that.
Mhm.
And so when can people tune in to the 409 and where can they find it?
So right now I did a transition. I was at the radio and then from the radio I went to Instagram and that was because of the pandemic. The
Mm-hmm.
radio station pretty much shut down, so we just jumped onto IG. And then from IG, I just decided that I wanted to do something a little bit different,
Mm.
broaden up my audience in a different way. So now we're on YouTube.
Okay.
And so you could find 416 Love on YouTube. You can search 416 Love or What's the 411 and you should be able to pick it up.
Love it. Love it. And what day of the week do you air? Do you do live or is it pre-recorded?
It's live right now. I'm probably going to be leaning towards some pre-recorded recordings so
Mm-hmm.
that I can edit my videos properly and
Mm-hmm.
make them more, you know, digestible for individuals because the live is something you got to catch. It is always on my channel if you want to
Okay.
rewatch it or whatever,
Right.
but it is live at this time every Monday night at 8 o'clock.
At 8 o'clock. Love it. Love it. What's the 411, y'all? I love so what's next for Miss Ellie? What's next?
Working on another book right now.
Ooh, I love
So yes, this one, the first one was basically about my own personal kind of struggles and how I got out of my struggles, how I just literally had to figure it out. Like that's the name of the book. Like you just got to figure it out. And this is a couple of steps on how I figured myself out. So I put those steps in the book. It's a real small book. Let's see if I have it here. I don't, but it's a really tiny book. But it just gives like some little gems of things that I use, little tools like, to help myself get through.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but this book that I have coming up is going to be more of a novel, which I've always aspired to write. So
Okay.
I'm going to be writing this novel, and so I'm working on that.
Mm-hmm.
And I do have a book of poems that I'm going to be putting out as well. I'm not
Oh,
sure when I'm going to be putting those out, but I will soon enough. Um, and I really don't know what else because the Lord kind of works on his own time, as you
for sure.
probably know,
Mm-hmm.
and things just kind of pop up, So I don't know what else I'm going to be doing, but I am looking to actually work on some documentaries. I feel
Okay.
like some people have a story that is not just an episode of What's the 411. Some
Mm,
people need to, like, really share their in-depth story, and I feel like it may be worth a documentary, putting that all together. So that's really what I'm going to be trying to organize as documentaries. Yeah.
I can see it now. What's the 411? The story told by this one. Ooh, I love it. I love it. Love it. I'm not a director, but I can pretend to be one. So if you need help, I'm here to support you, girl.
I need all the I don't have the team yet, but if you're willing, let's go.
Let's do it, man.
Let's
Let's do
go.
it. Awesome. This has been a great, great chat. But I want to sign off with one thing because you alluded to your book a couple times, figuring it out. And I know that the listeners, I know that there's a mom listening that is in a space right now where she just doesn't know what her next step should be. What is one of the strategies that you use to help yourself figure it out that you can share with the audience?
The biggest step that I can tell anybody is take that step towards the Lord. That's
Mhm.
the biggest step. Each and every single one of us have a unique fingerprint. Nobody is like anybody else. That's our gift. We're all so unique, which means that the Lord is going to come to you in a different way than he's going to come to me, than he's going to come
Mhm.
to you, and then he's going to come to anybody, right? So let nobody outside tell you about your relationship with the Lord. Let nobody outside direct you in a different way.
Mhm.
You have to be very firm and strong, and it's not easy. It's so
That's
hard because a
right.
lot of times, it's like that unique fingerprint. It's you have to stand alone in what you know to be true with
Right.
the God that you serve, And so I would say take that step towards the Father and don't look back because you see what happened in the Bible to Lot's wife. When she looked back, she turned into a pillar of
Talked about that
salt,
yesterday.
and we're not.
Yep. Don't look
Can't
back.
look
And so
back.
as you were
So
speaking,
yeah,
the
just be
scripture that came to me, I don't even know the address of it, but it's like he said he will never leave you nor forsake you. So trust him and don't look back. Just keep going. Oh, I love it. Thank you, Mama.
thank
Thank you.
you. I
Been a
appreciate you.
great, great chat. So they can find you on YouTube at 416 Love. And I'm assuming, I think on your social, your name is 416 Love too, right?
416 on IG. I have a Facebook, but I am not that active. So if you
Girl, me
add me
too.
and it takes me to add you, don't be mad at me. Okay.
Just
I
go
really
straight to Instagram. Forget Facebook.
my, that's really my active platform is Instagram. Anything else is a little bit hard to find me. But on YouTube, you'll see all my videos there. And yeah, you can also go to 416love.com if you want to read some of my blogs and just check out my website. And yeah, you could tap me there as well.
All right, I'll be sure to add all of that in the show notes. And so that wraps up another episode of the Mama Means Business podcast. Thank you all so much for listening. Please remember to subscribe, like, and follow. We're on all social platforms as well. And if there was anything that you heard during our conversation, please be sure to screenshot it and tag me on Instagram. All right. Thank you again for listening, and we will see you next time.